Calpurnia stopped shyly at the railing and waited for Judge Taylor's attention. He saw her and said, "It's Calpurnia, isn't it?" "Yes, sir," she said. "Could I just pass this note to Mr. Finch, please, sir? It hasn't got anything to do with the trial." Atticus read the note. It was from Aunt Alexandra. It said that his children were missing. Mr. Underwood spoke up and said, "I know where they are, Atticus. Right up yonder in the colored balcony. Been there since precisely 1:18 p.m. Our father said, "Jem, come down here." We made our way down the balcony. Atticus and Calpurnia met us at the bottom. Jem was jumping with excitement. "We've won, haven't we?" "I've no idea," Atticus said shortly. "You've been here all afternoon?" "Go home with Calpurnia and get your supper, and stay home." "Aw, Atticus, let us come back," pleaded Jem. "Please let us hear the verdict, please, sir." "The jury might be out and back in a minute. We don't know." "Well, you've heard it all, so you might as well hear the rest. Tell you what, you can come back when you've eaten your supper. Eat slowly now. You won't miss anything important. And if the jury is still out, you can wait with us. But I expect it'll be over before you get back." "You think they'll acquit him that fast?" asked Jem. Atticus opened his mouth to say something and closed it again. Calpurnia marched us home and was very angry with us. She was upset that we were missing and that we were at the trial listening to all that was going on. She didn't think it was fitting for children to hear. "Mr. Jem, I thought you was getting some kind of head on your shoulders. The very idea! She's your little sister. The very idea, sir. You ought to be perfectly ashamed of yourself. You ain't got any sense at all." Jem was chuckling. "Don't you want to hear about it, Cal? Hush your mouth, sir. When you ought to be hanging your head in shame, you go along laughing," Calpurnia scolded. Jem was still grinning. Calpurnia agreed we could have Dill over for supper. Aunt Alexandra met us and almost fainted when Calpurnia told her where we were. Reverend Sykes had saved our places. We were surprised to see that we had been gone an hour. "Nobody's hardly moved," said Jem. "The jury's been out for 20 minutes. Jem smiled. "Don't fret. We've won it," he said wisely. "Don't see how any jury could convict on what we've heard." "Now, don't you be so confident, Mr. Jem," warned the Reverend. "I ain't never seen any jury decide in favor of a colored man over a white man." Jem spoke for a while on his ideas regarding on the law regarding rape. Time had passed, and it was getting close to 8. Atticus was walking around the jury box, and Mr. Gilmer was standing at the window talking to Mr. Underwood. The courtroom was still. I was past tired. But when the clock had bonged 11 times, I allowed myself a short nap. I jerked awake and made an effort to remain so. I looked around and saw the people sitting below. Dill was sound asleep, his head on Jem's shoulder, and Jem was quiet. The courtroom reminded me of the day when Atticus shot the rabid dog. Mr. Heck Tate came in and said, "This courtroom will come to order," in a voice that rang with authority. Mr. Heck Tate left the room and returned with Tom Robinson. What happened after that had a dream-like quality. In the dream, I saw the jury return, moving like underwater swimmers, and Judge Taylor's voice came from far away and was tiny. A jury never looks at its defendant if it has convicted, and when this jury came in, not one of them looked at Tom Robinson. The foreman handed a piece of paper to the judge. I shut my eyes. Judge Taylor was polling the jury. Guilty, guilty, guilty. I peeked at Jem, and his hands were white from gripping the balcony rail. His shoulders jerked as each guilty were a separate stab between them. Someone was punching me, but I was reluctant to take my eyes from the people below us and from the image of Atticus's lonely walk down the aisle. "Miss Jean Louise?" I looked. All around us in the balcony, on the opposite wall, the Negroes were getting to their feet. Reverend Sykes' voice was as distant as Judge Taylor's. "Miss Jean Louise, stand up. Your father is passing."